DennisSpira.com.
Let's face it, we love Alexa, and we love to let her find your favorite radio station. This one, of course. We love it too when she finds us, but she could find us easier if we taught her a simple skill. To get started, simply say, Alexa, enable the Answer Pittsburgh skill. After she confirms, you can then say, Alexa, play the Answer Pittsburgh. That's all you have to do. Learn how to find us. You can listen to us through your Amazon Echo, Echo Show, Echo Dot, and Amazon Tap devices. Alexa, what is your favorite radio?
It's easy. AM 1250. The Answer.
Not live for long. Have you heard that Nevada is the latest state to decide that the Constitution got it wrong? The state Senate voted 12-8 along party lines. Of course, the 12 were the Democrats to join the popular vote Interstate Compact Act a couple of days ago. There are already 14 states in on the deal, and also it includes the District of Columbia. The states will pledge their electoral votes to whichever presidential vote. It's unbelievably stupid and sure seems like it should be unconstitutional. We'll find out. Maybe we'll ask about that after the break. But it will only take effect when enough states sign up to make it 270 electoral votes. Nevada would bring it to 195. Now, the stupidity when it comes to politicians who are supposed to understand it and the Electoral College, it's just amazing. I mean, it just stuns me. But most of them will tell you that we have a democracy. They say it all the time. Nancy Pelosi will say it 15 times a day about our democracy. It's a danger to our democracy. It's not a democracy. It's a democratic republic. It's the United States of America, as in, states, 50 of them. And the stupidity of this compact would be understandable if a 6th grade civics class came up with it. But these are elected officials, including governors. They don't like the idea that there are 50 states and, each state takes a vote and then the citizens of that state decide who they would like to have as candidate, as the best candidate for president that best suits them in their state, of Nevada or Pennsylvania or wherever. The founders had in mind, the idiots who don't like or understand the Electoral College think that it's not fair to have the candidate who gets the most popular votes not win the presidency. Again, because they've either forgotten or just don't like the concept of individual quasi, or if not totally sovereign states. And they don't like it because they think that the voice of the people isn't being heard. People who they say the Electoral College does. The people in Nevada are telling the electors there that they prefer candidate A. And the politicians in Nevada are going to decide that they're going to give their votes to candidate B. So they're completely ignoring what the people of the state have told them. So why bother with governors and state legislatures? Let's just have everybody vote for one person and let him. This state stuff, it's just kind of confusing anyway. One state outlaws abortions when there's a heartbeat. Another one is okay with abortion right up until birth. Why would you want to give people a chance to leave one state and move to another? Let's just have one size fits all. It's a lot simpler and it's more fair, but who knows? We'll see. Majority rule. That's what some people want, but which is exactly what the founders didn't want. But that's what they want, majority rule. And, what could go wrong? Now, as I said, this doesn't seem like it's constitutional, but who knows? We'll see how far it goes. But they're getting close. Imagine if in that next election, what are the chances that the Electoral College winner sues and wants to take it to the Supreme Court? It would make 2000 and Bush Gore look like a picnic. We may be headed that way. When we come back, we will talk to an expert on this subject who knows a lot more about this than I do. Stick around. We're talking to Rocky Blyer. He's involved with the Miracle League of Moon Township and the construction of a Miracle League athletic field. The fields are designed to make it possible for kids with special needs to play sports.
Every child, no matter what the situation, deserves a chance to be able to play, to compete, and have a place that's safe, takes care of needs, that's organized. This will be the fourth Miracle League field that will be built. Now we got 4 places to be able to travel, so it broadens the whole interest of sports. It's just terrific for our community to do that.
There's a buddy system I thought was pretty impressive. What's that all about?
Kids with special needs have a buddy, a child who's in school. It's like having an older brother or sister involved with you, so it's really good, and that everybody has human dignity of being able to participate.
The website is miraclesinmoon.org. Check it out, and let's help make this dream a reality. Hey, Rocky, thanks, and we'll be talking to you again about this project. Appreciate you coming on to talk about it.
Thank you for having me.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Thanks.
Rocky Blyer, and we'll be right back.
Are you about to pay double for roof replacement or repair? If you haven't called Windows R Us, you just might. Many companies are overcharging area homes and businesses nearly double. With over 50 years in home remodeling, Windows R Us is more than a window company. They're the area's premier exterior replacement company for siding, doors, gutters, downspouts, and roof replacement and repair. Factory certified by North America's largest roof manufacturer, Windows R Us will never overcharge. You'll love their no-pressure sales approach, straightforward pricing, and the fastest turnaround in the business. Right now, get 0 interest for 12 months on up to $20,000. Windows R Us will match any competitor's price. No hidden fees or surprises ever. Schedule a free roof inspection today. Mention AM 1250 for an exclusive 10% off. Why pay double? Visit the area's premier exterior replacement company. Windows R Us, more than a window company. Visit windowsruspittsburgh.com.
Hi, Hugh Hewitt here for PatriotMobile.com. I need you to go and switch today to PatriotMobile.com/Hugh. Let me tell you why. Big Mobile is supporting the left. You know, I'm talking about AT&T, Verizon. They cut big checks to the big left, and they do it every year, year in and year out, decade after decade, but Patriot Mobile is the country's only conservative cell phone company. A portion of every one of your bills goes to support conservative causes, the Second Amendment, pro-life causes, conservative activism at the Heritage Foundation. They also have unlimited talk and text plans starting as low as $25 a month, so don't wait. At Patriot Mobile, a young company, more than $2 million has already been used to support your constitutional rights. Imagine what we can do with you on our side when you switch to Patriot Mobile. Join me to stop the left and switch to more than ever. Visit patriotmobile.com/Hugh. That's patriotmobile.com/Hugh.
Share, like, comment, tweet. Are these foreign terms to your business? They may not be to your competition and the reason you're losing sales. Social media marketing is on the verge of dominating commerce. The right social media strategy can help you slay the competition and gain new customers. We're Salem Surround. We take the mystery of digital marketing off your shoulders, letting you run your business while we deliver customers. Your competition is already social. Catch them and surpass them. We offer a free analysis of your digital marketing effectiveness and suggest methods that could dramatically increase your sales. We know how to make every digital dollar count towards sales success. Now there are no limitations on where you can reach customers with Salem Surround. Total market penetration for increased ROI. Learn more by logging on to surroundpittsburgh.com. Surroundpittsburgh.com. Connecting you with new customers.
This is the John Steigerwald Show on AM 1250. Sure.
Well, I mentioned in the open that the Electoral College is under attack again, and it's been going on here for a while, and Nevada has become the latest state to join this stupid compact that would allow them to ignore the votes of the people in their state and choose who they would like to have be president of the United States based on the popular vote. John York of the Heritage Foundation researches and writes on America's founding principles. He's a policy analyst at the Heritage. He joins us now. John, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me on.
So,
too bad we can't talk about something a little better. But.
Yeah. Well, this is Nevada's the latest, but they're up to 195 now. They only need 75 more Electoral College votes. That's right. Not too many states. Is it becoming more and more likely that we're going to be faced with this?
I mean, as you said, that's quick math. That's 75 more. It would be hard. They have to get some red states. Basically, all the states that have signed on now, with the exception of, I guess, Colorado, depending on how you count purple states, they've been peeling off blue states that you'd expect would be on board of this, because after all, of the last 5 elections, Democrats have lost the Electoral College twice while winning the popular vote. So you can see the politics of this pretty clearly.
Yeah, and go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I was done.
I was going to say that they obviously looking at it's so easy to find an election map, the results of the election on a map and the red and blue colors on the map. And if you look at it county by county, it's stunning how red the map is. Right. And I saw a number. I don't have it in front of me here. I just thought of it now. The number of counties that Donald Trump won compared to the number of counties that Hillary Clinton won in 2016. But that doesn't matter to them, obviously.
Well, no. I mean, that would be the silos that we'd like to see, right? That they would go into quote unquote flyover country. I hate that term, but quote unquote flyover country and compete in places that they're deeply unpopular. That would be a way of winning the Electoral College as well as the popular vote. But they'd prefer to stay focused on their urban support centers and stay to the coasts and win that way and change the rules instead of doing what the founders had hoped that parties would do, which is, or presidential candidates would do, which is travel widely and try to convince all of these regions that they're the best option.
So here's what I don't understand about a lot of things. I don't understand about the stupidity involved in this. It's one thing coming from, as I said in my open, a 6th grade civics class, but for someone who's actually a governor of a state, and someone like Nancy Pelosi, people like that who actually are supposed to know how the system works and what the founders intended and all that stuff. But they're getting ready to debate, I think, next month, and getting ready for the primaries. And the primaries are the same as the Electoral College. They go to each state and they try to win different states. I mean, there's some cases where there's more than one state on a given day that votes, but they have to go state to state. They don't have a popular vote to pick their nominee. So why do they think they need to have one to pick the president?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the parties wisely were a nation of regions. It's a pretty large country, pretty diverse, and you'd want a system for selecting presidents that sort of reflects that. And now, at the Electoral College level, larger states get more Electoral College votes. That's clear enough. I mean, they should have a greater influence over who's the head of state. But it ensures that every state has at least 3 Electoral College votes, so that they're not overlooked. The parties recognize that, as you point out. It seems like what's good for the goose would be good for the gander, but as you say, Nancy Pelosi sees otherwise. I don't know. I've
never seen anybody ask one of these people who's running around saying we should get rid of the Electoral College. I'd like to see someone ask one of the Democratic candidates, listen, this whole primary thing that you go through is kind of confusing. Why don't you just have one day, I don't know, in April or May, and say April, and just have everybody go to the polls and pick their Democratic candidate?
I think that's smart. In fairness, what they'd probably say is, since we have the Electoral College and that's the rules of the game, we have to have a system that picks the candidate who's going to do the best state to state. So fair enough, but it does seem like, boy, if they wanted to make a change and start heading over towards the national popular vote, they could change the primary system right away. That's true enough. As a matter of principle, it seems like they should.
And the thing is, the very people who, I think, mostly out of ignorance, not although a lot of that I think is the same thing, but the people who don't think it's fair don't seem to complain about the primary system.
Yeah, that's true. It is a kind of weird thing. I've never really thought of this, but it is strange that they don't complain so much about the primary system. The most I've ever heard is people complaining about the order of the states. And saying, well, New Hampshire or Iowa too much.
Yeah, here in Pennsylvania, we've always, they're talking about moving it up. And Pennsylvania voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016, but in 2008, was that? Yeah, 2008, they voted for Hillary Clinton over Barack Obama, but it didn't matter because it was too late. So everybody why aren't all the Democrats in Pennsylvania saying, hey, let's just have Hillary versus Barack and we'll vote on a Tuesday?
At the very least, it would seem like you'd want all the states to vote at the same time. I mean,
it's dumb.
It does seem dumb. I can't imagine. I wish someone would press them on this, because it is a good point. If, as a matter of principle, every vote should be the same, then every vote should be the same at the primary level, too. It's no less important. Yep. In a way, that's where you have the most options. You have, I don't know how many candidates they have at this point, 25
23 or 24, yeah.
Yeah, then you winnow it down to 2, and then you want to have a popular vote at that stage. Well, gosh, the vast majority of your choices have already been sort of winnowed away. So you know what? I think we should start pushing on that. I'll make a deal with you. I'll push on it from D.C., and you push this from Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
maybe we could get them to answer to us a little bit.
I've been asking it for the last few months because every time I see this pop up, I think we got a primary coming up in a few months. We're going to have the first primary, and it's going to go state by state. And the reason we do it is because we have 50 states. It's not one government. Right. It's 50 of them. That's what a concept. So we're talking to John York. He's a policy analyst at the Foundation. So what do you say to people who use the argument that the Electoral College was only instituted and created because out of racism and to prevent the abolition of slavery?
Well, so I've read through through Madison's notes on the convention. I got to be honest with you, I didn't see anything like that. Basically, they wanted to create a system that would sort of filter the popular will, be likely to know the character of the people running for office. That didn't really happen. Eventually, the Electoral College ended up being the parties essentially creating a slate of Electoral College voters, the system we have today. Basically, the Electoral College delegates are not thinking about which candidate they personally know and personally like. They're pledged to support their party's presidential ticket. So that's the system we have now. That was part of the founders' intent. The other part was to ensure that large states and small states had a more equal stake in who was selected for office. That's still very much at play today. If you got away from that system, if you got away from the Electoral College system, every incentive would be to go from New York to L.A. to Chicago, maybe stopping in Dallas or something like that, focusing on where the largest bulk of voters are, where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck, and skipping over great swaths of the country, which, gosh, I mean, in a large country like ours, ignoring huge swaths of the country seems like a really dangerous proposition. The founders understood that, and forget it.
You wrote a piece a while back for the Heritage Foundation about, it was when Delaware back in April, Delaware joined the compact and pledged to award their Electoral College votes to the presidential candidate who gets the most nationwide. In that piece, you point out, you give a good example of how Governor Cuomo in New York, who I'm guessing would very much be against the Electoral College, how he conducts himself and where his travels have taken him.
Oh, most definitely. So if you look at where he's traveled, something like 600 visits in New York City, and there's several rural counties he's not visited once. I mean, if you want an example of what a popular vote, look at states that have popular votes. Where do governors focus their time? They go to the major cities. Look at Illinois. Look at California. Look at New York. I'm sure look at Pennsylvania. I don't know much about Pennsylvania gubernatorial politics, but I suspect Pittsburgh and Philly get a lot of whistle stops on the campaign tour. That would be my guess.
Yeah, in the election, during elections, yeah. But the thing about also about state government, at least what's, and I don't have any proof of this, but my experience is that lately, anyway, you'd have a tough. I think you might get 60% of the people to be able to identify who the governor of Pennsylvania is if you went out in the street today.
Well, and that's, I'm sure, related to the how they campaign.
Yeah.
I mean, the campaign, a campaign, a mechanism of selecting a head of state should kind of involve a lot of the people, should involve as many of the people as possible, as many of the regions as possible.
Yeah.
And it's no surprise, I guess, that if governors aren't stopping through your county, you're not really that invested.
In your piece, I know you don't have it in front of you, so I'll just refresh your memory. Andrew Cuomo, a Democrat, has governed the state for 8 years and still has not visited 3 of its rural counties. 10 other counties have seen the governor only once. So that's 13 counties that he's visited once or not at all. And by contrast, Cuomo has made 601 trips to New York City and another 223 trips to the 3 suburban counties surrounding the Big Apple. And I don't think, here's the thing, the people who are pushing for the end of the Electoral College, I don't think they'd have a problem with those numbers. They don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Yeah, I think that's right. Their mantra, and there's something to it, I mean, it's not crazy, is every vote should count equally.
Right.
And that's fair enough. That is democratic. But that's only one goal. Only one goal of the government is to perfectly represent every single individual equally. The other goal is keeping the country together. I mean, so I suppose moving in the direction of a national popular vote would meet that first end, but it sure would do damage to that second end.
Yeah, and in your piece you mentioned that it's not whether it's better for presidents and presidential candidates to care about and travel to the entire country or just a portion of it. The question is whether it is better for presidential hopefuls to focus on winning over swing states as they do under the Electoral College or big cities as they would if a nationwide popular election was instituted.
Elizabeth Warren made this point on the campaign trail. She was in Mississippi, and she said, look, it's not as though presidential candidates are swinging through Mississippi under the current system. Under a national popular vote, every vote will count the same. They travel more widely. That's crazy. Presidents have a finite time. And it's true enough that they don't focus on every area of the country under the current rules. They focus on swing states. But the good thing about swing states is they shift from election to election. It wasn't that long ago California was a swing state. So it's not the same states every election, whereas New York City and L.A. and Chicago have been the most populous cities for a very long time, Philadelphia as well. That's part one. Part two is in swing states, you have rural areas and urban areas and suburban areas, and they're usually very tightly balanced, by definition. So presidential candidates see all of those regions. They're, stopping by that coffee shop in a rural area. Whereas if you go to popular vote, they'd have every incentive to just park it in the urban cores, and they wouldn't see the variety of interests that exist throughout the country in the variety of geographical regions, which is pretty important, and they do now.
I have about a minute left, and I'm up against a hard break, but we're talking with John York, and he researches and writes on America's founding principles and their application to today's policy issues at the Heritage. Less than a minute. If this compact works, what's the chances of it being constitutional?
0. 0 are the chances. Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, sometimes referred to as Interstate Compact Clause, it says, no state shall, without consent of Congress, enter into any agreement or compact with any other state. Well, open and shut.
Wow. So what's the point then? I got to go, but I got 15 seconds. What's the point of all this?
They're sending a message. I think they're sending a message, and I don't know, maybe it's a message their constituents want to hear.
Hey, John, I really appreciate you being here. Thanks a lot. You cleared it up. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, that's John York of the Heritage Foundation. We'll be right back and tell you why millennials need to quit whining.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Trump is sending more troops to the Middle East amid heightened tensions with Iran.
The president says another 1,500 Americans will head to the region.
We're going to be sending a relatively small number of troops.
It's part of a buildup that began after what the U.S. said was a threat from Iran without giving either details or evidence. The Pentagon says the additional troops will focus on protecting those already there.
We do not see these forces as provocative.
Acting Assistant Defense Secretary Katie Wheelbarger echoing the president in downplaying the prospect of a conflict.
I don't think Iran wants to fight, and I certainly don't think they want to fight with us.
Agar Magani at the Pentagon.
On Wall Street, the Dow by 95 points.
Lower or eliminate occasional aches and pains due to aging, exercise, everyday living. I'm not skeptical any longer. The 3-week quick start is now discounted to only $19.95. Why don't you let us see if we Factor.com.
Want to know my secret to make a great-looking lawn last even longer?
All it takes is a second feeding of Scott's Turf Builder Lawn Food. With a simple second feeding, your lush lawn is here to stay. Because a second feeding of Scott's reinvigorates lawns by providing nutrients, which helps prevent browning and withering as the weather warms.
My green grass isn't going anywhere.
This is a Scott's Yard. Pick up Scott's Turf Builder Lawn Food today.
Dennis Prager, Union.
The existential threat, they love the word existential threat. But I also believe there's an existential threat, but mine is actually rational. I believe there's an existential threat to the world and especially to the United States, and that is leftism. As the United States of America will cease to exist if the left obtain power. Look at Venezuela, look everywhere they touch.
The Dennis Prager Show, weekdays at noon, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 1250. The Answer.
Are you tired of your old and drafty windows and doors? Pella offers 3 lines of vinyl, a fiberglass product, and various lines of wood. So we have gorgeous new windows and doors to fit your needs and any budget. You deserve Pella quality. And for a limited time, get 50% off installation and 12 months, no payments, no interest. Yeah, we can do that. Call 855-7 We'll come to you. PellaPittsburgh.com.
1 in 7 men is diagnosed with prostate cancer in his lifetime. The good news? When caught early, it can be treated. The bad? All treatment options have side effects like impotence, urinary leakage, and rectal bleeding. New Space Ore Hydrogel is FDA cleared and clinically proven to help. Men receiving Space Ore Hydrogel were more likely to maintain their normal sexual, urinary, and bowel function. SpaceOAR.org. Or ask your doctor about Space Ore Hydrogel.
You're an insurance agent. You're also an entrepreneur looking to grow. And what better way to grow than by being your own boss? Owning your own Farmers Insurance Agency has been called one of the best small business opportunities in America. With a nationally respected brand, award-winning training, and your personal experience business coach, your opportunity to grow is unlimited. No franchise fees required. Visit beafarmersagent.com and start growing.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Hunt & Associates is your resource for examining the important financial aspects for your retirement plan. Listen to our podcast radio show, Hunt for Retirement, by visiting gwhunt.com. On this week's edition of Hunt for Retirement, we discuss securing lifetime income. Text HUNT to 555-888 or to listen to the podcast now, or call 844-366-HUNT for a free copy of the book, Income Allocation, and a free retirement income report.
Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer.
We're seeing delays on 79 northbound Mount Nebo Road up to Route 19, southbound heavy from Washington Pike to South Point Boulevard. Very busy on the Parkway East. Outbound, you're stacking up Forbes Avenue to Edgewood's westbound. Pretty normal volume on the inbound side. And on the Parkway West, that is heavy inbound from Carnegie to the Fort Pitt Tunnel. 28, not doing too badly, but there is an accident outbound north of 910. That's a look at traffic. I'm Jenny Robinson.
AM 1250, The Answer. Weather.
Tonight we'll have patchy clouds with a low, a comfortable 60. Then tomorrow, look for more clouds than sun. It'll be warmer and more humid with a shower and heavy thunderstorm around into the evening. Storms can be severe with locally damaging wind and hail. 84 for the high. Late tomorrow night, partly cloudy with a couple showers, 66 for the low. Mostly cloudy or muggy with a shower and thunderstorm Sunday, high near 80. Clouds and sun with a shower and thunderstorm in spots Monday, high again 80. With your AccuWeather forecast, I'm Frank Strait.
You're listening to the John Steigerwald Show on AM 1250. The Answer.
And now, it's time for the Jerk of the Week, starring John Steigerwald.
Well, yeah, this is the toughest part of my job, trying to settle on one person as the biggest jerk of the week. So many choices, but I'm going to go with Alexandria Overrated Cortez. Around here, we like to call her Sandy, for her take on city gardening. It's impossible to explain. I'll just let her try.
When you really think about it, when someone says that it's too hard to do a green space that grows yucca instead of, I don't know, cauliflower.
Yeah, then you don't need to hear the rest of it. As it turns out, yucca only grows in places where there is never any frost. So Sandy wasted everybody's time today, but she did make Jerk of the Week, and I have a feeling it ain't going to be her last time.
Sandy, Sandy, I'm a fool for Sandy.
The Jerk of the Week is brought to you by Beef Jerky Outlet, Tanger Outlets, Washington, and Grove City Outlets. With over 100 varieties, there's one to satisfy the jerk in your life. Visit beefjerkyoutlets.com. And remember, don't be a jerk.
Have you noticed that we seem to be reminded a lot about how tough things are for this generation of young people? You know, the millennials, college tuition costs, college debt, no jobs. Turns out, though, that it ain't that tough. In fact, nobody has had it any better. That's what David Harsanyi, senior writer at the Federalist, found, and he joins us now. David, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So why are we being told that we need to feel sorry for millennials, do you believe?
Well, I mean, there are many reasons, supposedly, but the main two, I guess, are that college is very expensive, which is true, and that housing is often out of reach for many millennials, and that also that they don't have as much wealth as other generations have had at the same time in their lives in their 30s.
And you call them the luckiest generation, though, in your piece.
I do, for many reasons. One, just generally speaking, life is much better in almost every tangible and quantifiable way. Life is better. I mean, you have nicer things, nicer houses. Most things are less expensive in their own way, and there's less war, there's less poverty, there's less hunger. You can go on and on. I've written about this many times, but specifically, also, it's a bad comparison to make with wealth because millennials. It's mostly driven by the choices that millennials make. They become adults, or they hit adult milestones later than other generations have. And for instance, getting married, which helps you accumulate wealth. And when you go to college, more and more people go to college, so they delay making money. Though the payoff will probably be bigger for them in the long run. So I think those are the things that don't really undermine them. These are choices that they make.
Yeah, and you talk about the choices they make when it comes to housing, and the cities and the places that they are attracted to and where they choose to live. It's not my fault.
Well, some like to live in cities, and there's nothing wrong with that. But cities, especially now, are much nicer than they used to be. Many of these cities, a lot of gentrification and things going on that have made them more expensive. I grew up in the New York City area when I was young, and it was definitely not as nice as it is now for most people. So those are choices people make. The rents are sky high in those places, thousands of dollars. They could live elsewhere. Now, they make those choices, and maybe that makes them happier, and that's fine, but that's why they have less money than a generation that was more spread out. And I just want to quickly say, to talk about a whole generation of people as if they all shared the same characteristics, but this is just basically the debate that's been set up, so I'm just reacting to it.
Yeah, it's kind of like whiteness. I can't find a story anywhere, not to get off the track here, but I can't find a story anywhere that's written by a liberal, where it's, I guess a lot of it is in defense of or in support of millennials and what's happening now and everything that's wrong with the world, without seeing the word whiteness or white supremacy. And it's now okay to lump white people together.
Yeah, it's disgusting. It strips people of their thoughts, of their ideas, of the things that they do, and just makes them a color. I mean, Bernie Sanders is white, and I'm white, and I don't agree with that guy on anything. It's just a stupid way to categorize people, for sure.
And it's become a thing where you can attribute anything you want now, any problem you want, to whiteness. It's just but you couldn't ever attribute it to Asianness or blackness.
Yeah, because it would be a stupid thing to do, just like attributing it to whiteness. It's about the ideas that people had in this country. And the majority of people here for a long time were white Americans, but now there are lots of different people, and they have different opinions, just like white people do about everything. It's just a very, the people who use the words white privilege or talk about the whiteness problem are usually just white liberals or white progressives.
Yep.
So it makes it even more sillier it makes it even sillier.
Yeah. Now, getting back to the millennials, and I don't know, do you think that they think it's tougher for them than it's ever been, and has every generation thought that they are living in the toughest times to be living, or do you think it's more the people outside of the generation who are, I don't know if it's sympathy or for whatever reason, they're feeling sorry for millennials?
Well, it's hard to tell, but judging from my Twitter feed, millennials think they have it harder than anyone. They get very mad about these columns. And listen, I don't expect people to walk around and say every time we don't live in utopia. There are problems. I don't expect them to say, boy, at least I didn't have to go to Vietnam or something. I mean, obviously, people live in their own worlds and deal with those things. But it does. It is important to have historical perspective. I'm a Gen Xer. I realize that my generation had it pretty easy compared to the ones that came before it as well. I mean, these people, the greatest generation fought in a huge conflict in the world and had to deal with the Depression. What did I have to really deal with?
Right.
Nothing near that. So they talk a lot about the 2007 recession as if it's like the worst thing that's ever happened to mankind. I feel like they don't realize that everyone goes through recessions, and it was a slower recovery, but everyone has gone through recessions. I hear people telling me that the 70s were better than times now, and I actually, as a kid in the 70s, and I just don't really remember it that way, and I'm not sure anyone actually lived in the 70s remembers it that way. No,
I lived in the 70s, and there were a lot of things that were not good. One of them being
lines
that too. But and my dad was born in 1920. So when he was 17 or 18, it was 1938, and so he had, I don't know where the Depression was at that point, but it really didn't end until 1941, which is when he was drafted and headed into the Navy. So I don't ever think that I had it tougher than my dad, and and I wonder how many David, how many millennials do you think could tell you what D-Day was about, with the 75th anniversary coming up in a little week or 10 days? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about millennials in the sense that I think that it's, I work with many, I know, people, and I think that it's unfair. Many of them work just as hard as anyone else, are good people, conscientious. I think there's a big faction of them that think that the world, think about the world in a really ridiculous way, and that, I think, is partially the problem of our school systems and so on, that doesn't really give them a good basis of education. I mean, I think like a third of kids who graduate high school know that that we have three branches of government. So I mean, there's a serious problem in this country. I'm not exactly sure what we can do about that. Yeah, we're talking to David Harsanyi. He's also the author of First Freedom: A Ride Through America's Enduring History with the Gun from the Revolution to Today. I did a little test. This was maybe 10 or 15 years ago, so I don't know if these people wouldn't have qualified as millennials, but they were college kids back then when D-Day was coming up. and we had a bunch of interns and a couple of young producers, and I asked them, what was D-Day? When was it? I didn't expect them to get the June 6th, but I wanted to see if they could get the century or the decade. And not one of them knew. Not one of them. All of them knew that it was something, but they couldn't explain to me what it was. So that told me something about. I think when I was 20 years old, 21 years old, I think I knew what D-Day was. Of course, it wasn't as far removed from me as it was from these people, but I don't know. I think that might, if they are walking around feeling sorry for themselves, I just need to, they got YouTube. They can just, pull out a video of the invasion of Normandy and check that out. Those were 19, 20-year-old guys.
I mean, I'd love to go back in time and ask those folks, or even the generation after them, when very few people got to go to college, and kids today are college is expensive, and they're complaining about how expensive it is. But, I'd like to ask someone who had to do some sort of menial labor, some kind of backbreaking work, if they would willingly take on debt to have gone to college to do something else. I bet you they would say yes to that. So just because something costs more for you doesn't mean that it's not something special, or better than others had it, who had to work much harder than you did in many ways. Not you, but generally. Right. So I think that's another thing. Just because something's more expensive, like houses, I looked it up. The square footage house in 1950, I think it was around 900 square feet. It was not insulated. You didn't have air conditioning. Today, even the house I live in, which is nothing special, to me would have looked like a mansion basically growing up. So I don't think people think about how much nicer the things that they have are. Now, maybe you don't appreciate it. Maybe it doesn't make you happier. I don't know, but they're nicer. And that's something to think about. Well,
I'm old enough that when I was a kid, the only person I knew one other kid who drove around in an air conditioned car, because he was a rich kid. Nobody's car was air conditioned. Nobody thinks about that now. It's 90 degrees out. You used to be sitting in traffic with your window down. I'll take college debt over that.
When I was a kid, I grew up in Queens, New York, and the garbage everywhere. People just threw garbage out their window like it was nothing. Today we don't do that. I think it's cleaner. The air is cleaner. Things are better. Everyone, they've brainwashed people thinking that the world's about to end because of global warming. But in reality, your everyday life is 100% nicer than it was when I was growing up, at least in Queens, New York, where garbage was everywhere and the air was dirty. So I don't know. That's another thing people don't, I think, understand about the trajectory of their lives.
Now, in your piece, you mentioned that a lot of kids are going to college, and based on the information you had in there, a lot of them might be not only wasting money, but wasting their time with what they're majoring in and what they're paying for.
I mean, I think we should have a big national discussion about what's going on with colleges. I mean, it used to be, the government kind of insures those loans, so everyone gets a loan if they want to go to college. But the problem with that, of course, is that a lot of people go to college for stupid things. You would never get a loan to go get an art degree or something if the bank knew they weren't going to get their money back. So I looked up what people take, and most of the majors are humanities majors, and those are the hardest to get a job in. Now, I'm not saying don't try, because I'm a writer and that's a pretty useless career, but the problem is, that's a risk you take, right?
Yeah, right,
if it doesn't work out for you, that's on you. You took the risk, and if you can't, if you take German literature as your major and it doesn't work out for you, that's on you. No one owes you anything. A lot of this conversation sounds like people think that they're owed something in life. Someone's supposed to give them something. It's just not how it works.
Well, just for the record, I majored in exactly what I'm doing right now. And
how many people who went to school for that do you think actually ended up doing it? It's probably a small number.
Well, no, it's a small number, but it's actually kind of it's pretty amazing when I think back to the guys I was working at the college radio station with, and how many of them did get jobs, and some of them still working. But I tell the students that I understand how lucky they are, at least from the standpoint that they are majoring in something that, number one, it gives them an idea from day one of school exactly what they want to do when they get out, which most kids have no clue about. And number two, you have the opportunity to train yourself and be prepared immediately for a job. That doesn't mean a job or be any good at it, but it's a little bit better than majoring in gender studies.
Right. I mean, I went to school and all that, but I definitely learned more in my internships being actually a sports writer myself starting out than I ever did anywhere else. Like journalism school seems like a huge waste of money to me. So I don't understand why more people can. Maybe this is because we expect it from them, but I don't understand why we can't have more schools that are very specific for people to become, whatever craft they're interested in, so that they don't have to pay all this extra money to learn things that won't help them in their future.
Before I let you go, I want to ask you again about your book. David, we're talking to David Harsanyi. He's the a senior editor at the Federalist, but the book is First Freedom, A Ride Through America's Enduring History with the Gun from the Revolution to Today. Just for people who didn't hear you the last time you were on, what's the gist of the book? I mean, obviously from the title I can get an idea, but what can you tell us about the book?
Well, I mean, there's a big debate on guns all the time, and people say a lot of ridiculous things, I think. So I thought to myself, but specifically people ask why, do we have this gun culture? What's it about? So I don't think, again, you can, as we were just discussing, I don't think you can understand it without understanding the history. So I tried to write a non-political book about what the gun meant in the lives of Americans and, through its history. So it's basically a history of the gun, but told through the lives of people like Sam Colt and John Browning and people like that, and gunslingers and whoever used guns, and why people in this country are so, the Second Amendment is so important, and why they own guns, and that they're not just gun nuts, that there's a long history that comes behind this and sort of anchors it. So
I'm still deeply disappointed when you told me that hardly anybody was shot in Dodge City on a regular basis.
The body counts were not as high. I think movies have sort of distorted our understanding of how quickly someone drew a gun in the West because, as I said last time, when the other guy's a gun too, it's a little more complicated.
Amazing how that works. Hey, David, I always like having you on. Great stuff. Thanks. I'd like to have you again soon. Thank you.
Anytime. Thank you.
All right, and we'll be right back.
My baby loved the Western movies. My baby loved the Western movies.
Okay, meat lovers, Beef Jerky Outlet presents over 100 delicious ways to get your snack on. There's nothing slim about these big flavors. This is high-end quality gourmet jerky in more flavors than you've ever thought possible. From wild game to pepper and spice to sweet and savory, there's something for everyone. Jalapeno, Cajun barbecue beef brisket, sweet bourbon traditional, Asian sesame, teriyaki, cherry maple, and peppercorn smoked beef, just to name a few. With Father's Day coming up, this is a total no-brainer for the guy in your life. Visit beefjerkyoutlet.com for fabulous gift ideas. Plus, check out their phenomenal selection of rubs, sauces, and marinades. Beef Jerky Outlet at Tanger Outlets in Washington and their brand new location at Grove City Outlets. Beef Jerky Outlet, proud sponsor of the Jerk of the Week, heard every Friday right here on the John Steigerwald Show. Check them out, beefjerkyoutlet.com. A couple of weeks ago, we had Rocky Blyer here to talk about his work with Miracle League in Moon Township, Fields for Athletes with Special Needs. Jim Leland, the Pirates' former manager, is also involved in that project. Jim, thanks for being here.
Great to be here, John. Great to talk to you.
Tell me about the Miracle League of Moon Township.
It's just a great thing for these kids, and it's a wonderful opportunity to people to participate. Some people are a little less fortunate than others, and I think it's just a great
Steubenville, Beaver County, and surrounding communities. We're approximately eligible to participate, and it'll also serve adults with special needs. So it's a great. There are lots of changes happening in healthcare today. Fortunately, I know someone that has been on the forefront. It's Todd Martin. You and then expertly help you choose the best plan for your needs and then do so prudently. Don't need maternity coverage? Call Marley Financial. Have pre-existing conditions? Call Marley Financial. Want just catastrophic or just accident? You know the answer. Worried about the penalty? All of Marley Financial plans are penalty exempt because they know how to design the plans. Most of their clients save $30 to $60 a year. Call Todd at Marley Financial, 724-884-1496. That's 724-884-1496 on the web at marleyfg.com.
Maybe you'd like to know what exactly Relief Factor is. It was created by doctors. It's a 100% drug-free supplement with 4 key ingredients that simply help your own body deal with the natural inflammatory response that it has. It's easy to swallow, 4 little capsules in each packet, like the packet that I carry with me at all times. 3 packets a day for a week, then 2 packets a day for 2 weeks, and I have just described the 3-week quick start. And you will know in 3 weeks, that's the beauty of it, whether it works. They don't drag you on. That costs just $19 and $90.
Finishing up another week here, another good week of producing by Erin Byrne, thanks to her. And I think my big discovery for this week is the Babylon Bee. Go to the babylonbee.com and check it out. Their story today that I like, the NBA to assign adversity score to pudgy white guys who want to play professional basketball. Because, you know, that would make it more fair and more equitable for people who get drafted into the NBA. Thanks for listening. We will see you on Tuesday. Bye.
The John Steigerwald Show is a production of AM 1250 The Answer and Salem Media Group.
1 in 7 men is diagnosed with prostate cancer in his lifetime. The good news? When caught early, it can be treated. The bad?